Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards.
If you're listening to this podcast, then you're in great company. We've got thousands of listeners who have a thirst for continual improvement and raising standards in business. Whether your interest is in quality, sustainability, or risk standards, I'd love to welcome you as a member to our online platform for all things ISO, the ISology Hub. The ISology Hub is the leading place to get access to all of your online resources, from in-depth training courses, through to our very popular coffee break training, to templates and action plans and many other resources to help raise standards. As a member, you get access to over 100 courses, taking you from learner to practitioner to leader. The ISology Hub has all the resources that you need, which will really help to make your life easier and to help improve compliance in those business critical areas. So if you'd like access to learning and compliance resources ranging from data privacy to environmental management, anti-bribery, business continuity, quality, health and safety, to name just but a few, the list is endless actually, then we'd love for you to come and join us. Just head over to the isologyhub.com.
Hello and welcome to the ISO Show. I'm Steph Churchman and I'm the Communications Manager here at Blackmores. I'm sure many of you are already getting into the festive spirit as we head towards the holidays. In fact, this will be our last episode of the year. As we wrap up 2025, I thought it'd be a good chance to reflect on all the major changes within the world of ISO over the year, and give you a heads up on what to expect in 2026. So this will likely be a shorter episode, but it will provide you with a useful summary of the ISO landscape as of December 2025. So, let's get started. Now, all ISO standards go through a review and update once every 6 to 7 years typically. For some, it may be a bit longer or a little less, it depends, but the general rule is every 6 to 7 years. And the reason this is done is to ensure that standards reflect considerations for a current landscape. As technology and environments change, so must standard requirements to upkeep applicable and relevant best practice. In 2025, we saw a few standards receive an update, including ISO 27701. This is the standard for privacy information management, and it recently received an update in October 2025. The biggest change for ISO 27701 is the fact that this is now a stand-alone standard and can be implemented without an existing ISO 27001 management system in place. So you can have a dedicated PIMS instead. As we know, ISO love their acronyms, so that stands for Privacy Information Management System. This allows you to have a management system dedicated to privacy risks and controls. Although, that being said, we still always recommend integrated management systems, as this creates a more holistic approach to ISO management. That wasn't the only change, however. This update also saw the addition of further guidance for data processors and controllers. It also provides greater clarity on managing personal data within AI and digital ecosystems. And, as with many standards getting an update as of 2022 and beyond, ISO 27701 also focuses on greater organisational leadership involvement. Lastly, the update now aligns ISO 27701 more closely with global regulations such as GDPR, CCPA, and LGPD. I suspect that we'll see more AI considerations seep into other InfoSec and security-focused standards going forward. So it may be worth getting ahead with that the next time you're due to review your business risks and opportunities. Next is ISO 37001. This is the standard for anti-bribery. This one was well overdue an update, with its last version being 2016. The long-awaited update arrived on February 3, 2025, and brought with it a few changes, but nothing too major. It was mostly about bringing the standard in line with other ISOs in terms of language and quality. A few of these quality of life updates include text harmonization with the other 37,000 family of standards, such as ISO 37301, Compliance Management Systems, ISO 37000, Governance for Organizations, and ISO 37008, Internal Investigations of Organizations, to ensure consistency and easier integration. The latest version now formally introduces the concept of anti-bribery culture and emphasizes its importance for the effectiveness of the management system. Again, like with ISO 27701, there is now a greater emphasis on the role of top management and their involvement in overseeing the management system. There's also a new requirement for awareness training as a fundamental asset for management system results. It also receives the added climate change amendment, which many ISOs already embedded back in 2024. So if you'd like to learn more about that, go back to episode 174, where we explain more about that amendment and what you can do to comply with it. And lastly, there's more comprehensive definitions of conflict of interest, as well as procedures to raise awareness on reporting potential and actual conflicts. Next is ISO 50002, the standard for energy audits. This isn't a certifiable standard, but rather a guidance document to support the energy management standard ISO 50001. The last version was published in 2014, and the 2025 version has now been split into 3 parts. ISO 50002 Part 1, which specifies general requirements with guidance for use. ISO 50002 Part 2, which specifies guidance for conducting an energy audit in buildings. And ISO 50002 Part 3, which specifies guidance for conducting an energy audit in processes. Most of the revisions focused on strengthening and adding further clarification to energy auditing principles, such as competency, confidentiality, objectivity, access to equipment, resources and information, evidence-based approach, and risk-based approach. Lastly, this update also clearly specifies the requirement for energy auditor competence. There have, of course, been a lot more updates to industry-specific standards, but for the sake of brevity, I'm sticking to the core group of ISOs that many of you are likely familiar with. We also saw the publication of a few new ISO standards in 2025. These include ISO 42006, requirements for bodies providing audit and certification of artificial intelligence management systems. This is a guidance standard that actually relates to certification bodies rather than businesses choosing to implement ISO 42001. It builds on ISO 17021-1 and ensures that certification bodies operate with the competence and rigor necessary to assess organizations developing, deploying, or offering AI systems. It simply provides guidance on the audit and certification of AI management systems to ensure that they are performed consistently and credibly, giving organizations the confidence that certified organizations meet the expectations set out in ISO 42001. While one that you as a business may not have to worry about, it's a positive addition to the growing ISO 42000 family of standards, which are currently the only global frameworks for best practice for AI management. If you're a business who either develop, use, or sell AI-related services and products, ISO 42001 really is one to look into. As legislation catches up with the technology's development, getting ahead with ISO 42001 certification will put you in good stead for when legislation such as the EU AI Act come into full effect. If you'd like to learn more about ISO 42001, check out episode 166. Next is an addition to the Sustainability Standards Library, ISO 17298, Biodiversity, considering biodiversity in the strategy and operations of organizations. Quite a mouthful of a title, but fairly self-explanatory. Now, I'm sure we're all well aware of the devastating effects of destruction of biodiversity, and it's something that's never been more relevant, with increasing natural disasters adding to the already catastrophic effect that humans have on various ecosystems. We're heading to a point of no return. However, there is still time to make a real difference, and of course, ISO have provided a framework to help organizations do just that. ISO 17298 ultimately aims to help organizations of all types and sizes understand how they depend on and impact nature, and take concrete action to address it. It includes guidance to help you understand your biodiversity impacts, dependencies, and risks, identify opportunities for green growth and nature-positive finance, and develop and implement a credible biodiversity action plan. So for those looking to bolster your environmental credentials, this may be one to look into. Next is a standard that will actually be added to the Sustainability Catalogue in early 2026, that being ISO 53001, Management System Requirements for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. For those not aware, the UN SDGs were launched in 2015 and detail 17 global goals for sustainability, around the social, economic, and environmental pillars for sustainable development. Many businesses have already done the hard work behind aligning their ESG activities with the UN SDGs, and will soon be able to benefit from certification to an internationally recognized standard to help manage and improve their performance against those sustainable development goals. This standard provides a framework for an SDG management system that will enhance the organization's SDG performance, fulfill compliance obligations, achieve selected sustainability development objectives, and create trust and confidence to relevant existing and future stakeholders. If you wanted to get a head start, the guidance document for ISO 53002, Guidelines for Contributing to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, is available to download for free right now. I'll include a link to that in the show notes. Lastly is another one that technically hasn't been published yet, though it is imminent, also with an expected release date of early 2026. This is the long-awaited ISO 14060, Net Zero Aligned Organizations. This standard details requirements for how any type of organization can demonstrate that their net zero strategy is achievable, and that they are making credible and verifiable progress towards contributing to global net zero in line with the Paris Agreement. This standard is a very necessary one, as just 4% of the world's largest companies that committed to net zero targets currently even meet the minimum robustness criteria. For context, that criteria includes clear interim goals, transparent data, or third-party verification. That fact is more than shocking. In fact, I'd go as far to say heartbreaking. Though this may be in large part due to the fragmented nature of the net zero landscape. There are a lot of country-specific legislation and regulations now in effect or soon to be in effect. But there is a lack of clarity around what it actually means to be net zero. This is where ISO 14060 comes in, to create a globally accepted definition of what it means for an organisation to be net zero. In addition, this standard will also define what constitutes a credible net zero strategy at an organisational level, establish how targets should be set, measured and delivered. It will require organisations to align with the goals of the Paris Agreement. It will build on existing ISO standards such as ISO 14064 for GHG verification and ISO 14068-1 for carbon neutrality. It has a focus on organisational claims, not product or event level claims. And lastly, it will be globally applicable and adaptable across sectors. This is certainly another one to keep an eye on, and we'll be sure to cover it more in detail once it's been published. Now, the last area I'll cover today has to do with upcoming changes to some core standards in 2026. As a lot of you may be aware, some pretty major ISO transitions are coming up. This includes both ISO 9001 and ISO 14001, so I'll start with what we know about ISO 14001. The much-anticipated update to the leading environmental management system standard ISO 14001 is expected to be published in Q1 of 2026. Thankfully, it doesn't appear to have many major changes, but rather just further guidance and clarification in a few areas, including modernized technology and harmonized structure that aligns with other ISO standards, a stronger focus on environmental conditions, a clearer environmental management system scope with life cycle perspective. Again, we'll see a greater focus on leadership accountability. There is refined risk-based planning. There's an introduction of a new change management clause. There's extended operational control to suppliers. They've restructured the management review, and there is an expanded Annex A for explanatory notes. These changes will all be things we go into in greater detail on a future episode as soon as the final version has been published. Now, in comparison, ISO 9001 has had a much more turbulent revision process. Originally, it was expected out around a similar time as ISO 14001, but following its public comment round, it's gone back under revision to make more changes after that feedback. As a result, this has pushed the expected publication date to either Q3 or possibly even Q4 of 2026. Now, despite it going back into revision following feedback, the changes are still expected to be minor. Some of the expected changes include impact of digital transformation, such as AI, improved supply chain resilience, proactive risk management and risk-based thinking, quality culture and awareness of ethical behaviours, and an increased attention to customer satisfaction. We'll need to wait for the next draft to be published to give you more details, but once again, we'll cover that in a future episode as soon as we can get our hands on it. Just a quick reminder that ISO 45001 is also due for revision, and is expected to publish in 2027. However, That's still in the earlier stages of the process, so we don't have much idea on the changes as of yet. Now, I know these standards are likely ones that most of you already have in place, and you may be concerned about handling the transition for all of them. Thankfully, you will have a 3-year grace period to complete that process. The actual deadlines will be announced when the new versions of the standards have been published. Of course, we'll be helping all of our clients through that process, and we'll be happy to support any of our listeners looking for some additional support too. When those final versions have been published, we'll explain more about our transition support available, but just know that there will be help out there when and if you need it. And that's it. Quite lots happened in the world of ISO this year, and evidently it's going to be very busy over the next few years with those core ISO standard transitions. We'll be sure to keep you up to date with all the latest developments in 2026, so make sure to like and subscribe to the ISO show to be alerted about new episodes. If you have the time to spare, we'd love a nice shiny 5-star review on your preferred media player too, as this really does help us to reach a wider audience. And all that's left to say is that from all of us at Blackmores, we wish you a happy Christmas and a wonderful new year. See you in 2026.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.